What's up, gamers? Aaron Shack here with Shackcast episode number 42. We are talking about the Bungie layoffs, the final shape of Destiny 2, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3's early access campaign. Special guest Andrew Alliance is here, and we are talking about this on a live Twitter Spaces, but we want to share our thoughts here on the podcast with the entire community. So I hope you enjoy our conversation here. Check out my merch store on Spring. Link is in the description. You'll find apparel, homeware, accessories, pet stuff, and drinkware, all designed around my brand. I'm proud to sport this stuff myself, and I know you will enjoy it as much as I do. Profits from the merch store support the podcast and the YouTube channel. Take a look and see if anything suits you. I have a wide arrangement of colors and sizes, with many designs being rotated in constantly. Listen to the podcast and check in regularly for coupon codes. Thank you for your support.
So welcome to the Twitter Spaces edition of the show radio. We're going to be doing these rooms to talk about the latest things in the news so I can get it out of my mind. Aaron can get it out of his mind, and we can just, have a great conversation. So I'm actually going to tone down some other volumes here that I kind of hear. And because I actually hear myself, I guess that's good that I hear it. That means it's actually working, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's good news. But yeah, so this week's news, I definitely want to talk about the Destiny stuff for sure, and I also want to talk about the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 stuff. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that because I know that's been an interesting turn of events. Some reviews have gone out. Some people are not necessarily happy about the things that are happening with Call of Duty because of the campaign preview. You know what I mean? So I definitely want to hear your thoughts on that because you had an opportunity to play that. But I just want to say, this episode is brought to you by Libsyn. I'm going to do some promo here. So Libsyn is my audio host. I've been using Libsyn since I think 2012, 2013, give or take, when I hit about 115 episodes of the show radio. Now, if you're planning to start a podcast, they're a great host. I do not recommend any other host outside of Libsyn. I currently use them now. So if you use the promo code TSR, that is TSR, you get 1 month free with Libsyn. So Aaron, what is up, man?
Dude, I gotta second your ad there, man. I've not used anyone else, and they've been a great host, and I use your code, so
Did you get 1 month free though? Did you
they're
get 1 month
dope,
free?
man. Yeah, that's so dope.
Yeah.
They're
So you
real,
got your
man.
month free. Were you happy with your month
I
free?
was happy with the month free, yeah, and ever since, I've never had any issues, and all the episodes have gone out and have been good. So I mean,
Dude, they're
they've been
great.
a great service.
Dude, they are fantastic, man. So I definitely appreciate, everything they've done for me as, the hosting, aspect of it. And they have the show The Feed, which is a dope show where you listen to the latest podcast news and analytics and everything that they do there. They do a fantastic job, man. So
Mm-hmm.
so Destiny, man. Whew, man. I'm almost, I kind of held um
Yeah.
my thoughts, right?
Me
So
too. I was saving him.
yeah, so I kind of have my thoughts because, I do want to, get in the flow of having these conversations, somewhat regularly, depending what's happening throughout the week and stuff like that. But Destiny 2 has been a game that I've played, man, since 2014.
hmm
Okay. We've been at it with Destiny for an extremely long time, and seeing what has happened, the independent, buying and being with PlayStation, all the things that we've seen in the last, what was it, 10 years, right?
Yeah, it's been
You
a
know, every,
tumultuous time, man.
yeah, man, it has. And I definitely want to hear, some initial thoughts from you. I do want to read the November 2nd post by the Destiny 2 dev team that is titled Our Path Forward. So I do want to read that, and then we'll kind of like dissect a couple of things. I didn't highlight anything in there, but again, I definitely want to say that this is Anytime, okay, I'll say this and then I'll hand it over. Anytime there's a layoff or anytime someone loses their job, their way of earning for their family, I know we always say like the standard tweet, prayers and thoughts with the family and things like that. But bro, like I've experienced that, right? And I know many folks have experienced that too that will be listening to this later. And it's a big deal it hits hard with the family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then seeing that for, something not only as I've experienced personally in the past, and it's a game that I've put 1,400 hours in, and then we're seeing this happen in real time, even though there's other layoff conversations with other brands, which I'll mention later. But what's your take on the stuff that's been happening with Destiny 2 and Bungie?
Man, it's a lot to unpack, but I'll kind of focus just on the layoff portion for now. It's surprising to me in some ways because Destiny has been a constant pipeline of content over the years, and we've gotten used to the yearly expansion and stuff like that. And it just seems weird that if there's some sort of downturn in player counts or whatever, it's a weird reaction to just lay off the very people that you need in order to make the game and continue to make the game a successful experience. To cut jobs to sort of balance the budget doesn't seem like a very good way of doing business here.
Yeah, man. I looked at the of course the tweets and the different, people posting online, and I'm like, wow, okay, so and we see layoffs happen time and time again. And then sometimes people, will lose their employment and they don't say anything online,
Yeah.
because they don't want maybe the embarrassment, or you're working for a company that may be considered top tier AAA. Everybody desires to work for this company, and there's a lot of individuals that I've seen over the years since I've been podcasting since '09. So over the years I've seen a lot of people just silently leave a company, and then next thing you know their profile changes to
Mm.
the new company that they work for, and it is what it is. And the thing is, and just thinking about this out loud, is it really my business for me to know that you're leaving one company to go to another company? But you kind of made it everybody's business when you're posting it on your profile that people may visit once in a while depending what you have going on, or things that you may say as you're transitioning from one company to another. So it's almost like a blurred line when it comes to that stuff, when people are talking about one thing versus another, as it relates to how companies are transitioning and stuff like that. So what's your thoughts there, as I'm like thinking about this out loud?
Yeah, I mean, it really isn't any of our business, and we keep financial things, when things are going wrong, we keep that close to the chest. But this might be kind of a special exclusion. But I think people want their job security too. Like, no, they don't want to like rag on Bungie as soon as they get fired because they want to get hired by another company. You don't want to like blacklist yourself by talking bad about your previous employer. You kind of just want to take your licks and then get back out there and hopefully land a new job. And yeah, it does seem kind of fruitless that all we can do is like, thoughts and prayers to these people because I mean, at the end of the day, that doesn't do anything. But I mean, people have talked about other actions that you can do, and it feels fruitless in some ways. Like some people say, okay, well, boycott the game. And it's like, well, that just hurts the team that's left over. And then it's like,
Mm,
well, just don't buy any more DLC, or just don't buy off Eververse, or, there's like all these different things. And it's like, none of that is really sticking it to the man. Like if you wanted to let the leadership at the company know, like, hey, we disagree with what you did here. Letting go members of the accessibility team, from what I've heard, is that members of the accessibility team and also some of the community management team has been let go. And I mean, that's your front-facing, staff members that control the image of the game and communicate between the players and the developers and everything. I mean, that's your messaging. So if you cut those people out, and then of course the accessibility stuff is like, I mean, that's paramount in gaming nowadays. You want to make games accessible to as many players, whether they have disabilities or not. You want to give people options for all these ways to be able to play the game so that you get the widest audience possible. That's dope. But when you get rid of people like that, it's like, what can we expect?
Right.
This seems really bad in a way.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So it says our path forward. This has been one of the most difficult weeks in our studio's history. And as we've parted ways with people we respect and admire, we spent this week supporting one another, including those who are at the studio, as well as friends and colleagues who no longer are, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
other thing too, I wanted to pay attention to, like, even reading this, I'm thinking, just thinking out loud as we're having these conversations. I guess I'm at a stage now. I just want my thoughts to be out there, especially on Twitter Spaces, and this is kind of like a new forum for me. Like, tone is extremely important, even how I read this, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is this has a special place in my heart because I've
Mm-hmm.
been playing it for so long. And that's one aspect of it, and the other aspect of it, this is people's livelihood that they no longer have, right?
Yeah.
So they have to be mindful of those two things. We want to acknowledge the feedback and concerns you have about Lightfall in recent seasons, as well as your response to the reveal of the final shape. We know we have lost a lot of your trust. Destiny needs to surprise and delight. We haven't done this enough, and that's going to change. To us, the path forward is clear. We need to make the final shape an unforgettable Destiny experience. We want to build something that will be regarded alongside the best games we've ever made, right? So we know what those games are,
Mm-hmm.
okay? A fitting culmination that honors the journey we've been on together for the past 10 years. Okay, so they acknowledge that, right? Forsaken, the Witch Queen, and the Taken King. These are the standard bearers we aim to live up to. And I think that's okay. So I'm gonna pause there. Dude,
Yeah.
that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's
That's a lot.
heavy.
I don't know who wrote this, but
Yeah.
this is good. This is good. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The writing is really good, and they know that they have to, like, literally, like, awe us with anything that they do moving forward, whether it's the Witch Queen stuff that we've seen. Taken King still gets talked about, all the time, right? Forsaken for sure has done amazing, right?
Yeah.
So what's your take on that? Do you think that they'll be able to do that?
That's a tall order, man. But
Right.
we thought that at the beginning, man. Like every DLC that came out when Taken King came out, we were like, "Oh, this reinvents Destiny. Oh, it changes the way the game plays. Oh my god, like look at the storytelling, the enemies. That
Right.
was our first glimpse at new enemies." And then Forsaken came along, and what happened with the story, the introduction of bows, new areas, new enemies. They have continued to evolve this game over the past 10 years. So it's not impossible. It's just going to be really hard because every time the bar is set higher and higher. And the final shape is there, this is the end of the Infinity Saga, to quote, Marvel and the MCU and stuff. Like, this is their end game moment here. This 10-year setup not only wraps up a very nice arc for Destiny, which is the Light and Dark Saga, which has me confused. Like, where does Destiny go without that? Like, what's next, even? So, I mean, I'm partially in awe on that. But yeah, just to put a nice bow on all this and wrap it up in a meaningful way, but also deliver in a way that I guess they haven't since Witch Queen. I guess I would want to know more because, like, I didn't hate Lightfall, but it seems like the community did. And I don't really understand what people didn't like, maybe. I don't know if you
Hmm.
have thoughts on that.
No, I'm biased. You
Yeah.
already know I'm biased when it comes to anything Destiny. Like, even
I
now,
had a great
you know.
time with it. I don't know what to tell you.
Right,
I,
exactly.
I I enjoy everything, but like I enjoy some things more. Like we have to
I'm
realize that
super
some
biased.
expansions were better than others. But it wasn't bad. Like I love the new powers that they gave us. It's dope.
Yeah, yeah. I'm super biased when it comes to Destiny. So,
Yeah.
so even that is kind of tough when it comes to, playing the game and talking about the game. And even, with, reading this thing here, we are intensely focused on exceeding your expectation for the final shape. Destiny 2 has more than 650 dedicated teammates pouring all their energy and expertise into delivering this epic moment and its subsequent episodes. So, I'm looking forward to that. So my thing is like there's the only thing that I didn't like about Destiny 2 or Destiny when we found out because of the data miners how we were accruing XP for the game. I
Mm.
think that was a interesting turning point for Bungie and Destiny, and how the accruing of the XP felt, like um, a very like swimming uphill, because you believe that you're supposed to be getting more XP than whatever the thing was at the time. And then because of the data miners, you know what they do, right? They do
Yeah.
their thing when it comes to that stuff. And we found out that we weren't getting what we were supposed to get. And I think from
Mm.
or the way it was being calculated didn't benefit the player as
Mm.
much as it's benefited the company at the time, right? So I
Okay.
think that was the only thing that really stood out for me, when it comes to what may be considered like a mishap, for the game over the years. Like, I mean, that's the only thing that sticks out, for me right now. But I'm just gonna finish reading the last paragraph and then we can continue on with
Yeah.
the Destiny stuff. So it says, in the weeks ahead, you'll be hearing more from us about what's next on the short-term horizon, beginning with our next season in late November. Afterwards, we'll begin to unpack our team's bigger, bolder, and brighter vision for the final shape, as well as the bridge we plan to build to take us all out of this darkness and into the lights. To use Starside, the Destiny 2 dev team. So that's how it ends, and that is the first official, and from what I understand, the first official message, right?
Yeah, as far as I
That
know.
that we've seen from them as well. And I saw you posted something. What did you just post? You want to talk about that?
Yeah,
Since it's in context,
I
yeah.
sent you a little note, just, if we want to get to it after the Bungie stuff, we can wrap on it just a little bit.
Yeah, but my thing is like, I'm not necessarily going to be like, super long-winded about, the things that are happening during the week. I mean, so as I was sharing with you, like even if this is just a way to archive some of the things that happened during the week, for
Mhm.
me, and of course, sharing your thoughts as well, because I do value them, because you have great insight about what's happening in the space, because you're in the gaming space as well. My thing is, I'm okay with, saying what we have to say about a particular topic, and then just, moving on to, the next thing that we want to talk about. This doesn't have to be like a long, marathon.
Marathon, get
You
out of here.
see, you see what
Stop
I
it.
did there?
No, nobody liked
I
what you did
see,
there. I
you
can't
see,
believe you did that. Only the oldest Bungie nerds are gonna get that joke. That's
you
crazy.
see,
I
you
don't
see
even
what I
know.
did
Did you
there?
even play Marathon? Don't pretend. Oh my god.
The answer is no, I did
Okay.
not. But I'm
We
just
got to
saying,
get
like,
you on that, man. That's dope.
yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to the new one though.
Mhm.
I'm definitely looking forward to the new one, seeing what they're going to do there. So what am I looking at? You want to like hit
No,
us
no,
up a
no.
little bit?
Save it. Save it for a second. We got a little more on Destiny.
Okay, so fair enough. Go
I got a
ahead.
little thread here. So we've been playing this for 10 years. We've seen the game go from a game that you had to purchase and yearly expansions that you had to pay for, and then it went free to play, which brings in a certain level of entitlement, and new players are coming in to the Destiny experience, and they're expecting to get a lot of the milk for free, right? But then they realize, like, oh my god, there's like 2 or 3 years of expansions. Like, do I need to buy these and catch up on them? Or, do I need to just spend $30 and get the latest one? Players are looking for ways to maximize their spending and get the most out of what's available. And then, of course, you have like vaulted content and stuff that's, no longer even exists in Destiny, like the main campaign. So, I mean, that kind of leaves, people out in the dust. There's been some decisions here and there that we could argue back and forth. This was good, this was bad, or whatever. But
So with decisions, right? What do you think
yeah,
about the rotating of this stuff? Did you like the rotation of the stuff that they did?
I don't like that the main campaign is gone. That seems kind of crazy. That like the OG Destiny 2 story that brought us, into the sequel, like no longer exists unless you go watch like the cutscenes on YouTube, or go watch someone's playthrough or whatever. Like some of those events just can't be experienced. It's understandable that they want to keep the install size small, and the servers can only take so much. There's all these reasonings, and I'm not arguing with that. I mean, I feel like Bungie would know better as the developer on how to manage stuff like that. But I think all these issues just make it very difficult in the future. Like where does all this stand? Does the Light and Dark saga end and we get a new game, or are they going to erase more stuff on the back end as they add more new stuff on the front end? And how are they going to deal with these new players that kind of come in and they don't want to buy the expansions? They just want to kind of get what's free and keep going, and therefore Destiny has a problem generating revenue if people aren't buying Eververse, people aren't re-upping every year for the new content, or maybe
So
people are
so
sitting
here's
out
the
on the
thing.
season pass, like the battle pass, all that.
So here's the thing, right? So
Yeah.
45% is the miss, right? That they said 45% is the miss for Destiny when it comes to the revenue that they were looking for.
Yeah.
When it comes, okay, so when it comes to things like this, and we see it time and time again, and if you're in the audience, feel free to join us on stage, open forum to talk about tech and gaming stuff for sure. So if when you look at the stuff that have been fixed over the years, the best way that these companies have fixed them is to give the players exactly what they want. That's it,
mm,
right? That's it.
mm.
That's it. That's it.
So
There's
what do the
no
players want? I guess I don't know.
the players want a very very competitive uh, PvP experience. The players want
Mm-hmm.
weapons that they've seen in the past to come back,
Yeah.
very similar to how they were in the first game. The players want an experience where it needs to be tough, it is, and you shouldn't minimize that toughness for new players to come in. If the new players are going to stick to PvE, let them stick to PvE and do their PvE things. But if they're
Mm,
going to go to PvP in a particular bracket, or they're gonna do trials, trials is designed to be tough. So they're gonna go
indeed.
to trials to be leveled at a particular number, whatever it is now, what 18, 90, or whatever the number is now for trials, right? Whatever
Yeah.
that number is that you need to have minimum to play trials, that is what it is. Do not bring it down for anybody, right?
No, yeah, you can't, man. You
That's what I'm
can't.
saying. And that's what they respect. So if you look at okay, so this is not necessarily a Spider-Man conversation or
Sure.
even a Miles conversation, but what made those great? They stuck to a formula that everybody loves, right? You have someone who gets a power and they're trying to figure out how to deal with the power that they received. And then you have a open world that is somewhat open that you get to explore. You have some amazing cutscenes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then those cutscenes end up being on YouTube as a own movie, right? So Spider-Man 2, the
You're
cutscenes of
crazy.
Spider-Man 2, dude, like the cutscenes for Spider-Man 2 is 4 hours. I'm 3 hours into the cutscenes, okay?
That's
And it's
wild.
amazing.
Yeah.
Now, am I going to play the game anytime soon? No, because I'm waiting for it on PC. So I'm not going to see that until maybe a year and a half from now, maybe two, right? But the formula
Mm-hmm.
that they stuck to is something that worked for the original Spider-Man, and then they learned from that with and Miles Morales, and then you got the new Spider-Man that you got, which may be Game of the Year for some, while
Mm-hmm.
others will say Alan Wake is Game of the Year for them, right? It is what it is. That's everybody's personal preference, whatever it is, right? So I think that the conversation that I heard earlier this week was the employees at Bungie were stating that these are the things that the players are going to enjoy. These are the things that the players are looking for. And the leadership, because some people were trying to say, well, put it on Sony.
Ooh. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So they were trying to put it on Sony, but they were saying like the leadership did not go with what the employees were saying, right? But my
Yeah.
thing is just like they're playing it maybe more or just as much as we're playing it, the employees, right?
They
And
are.
a good portion, right, and a good portion of those individuals who no longer work there, they lived and breathed that game. I'm sure they played other games for sure, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they played this game almost every day or every other day because they were part of that experience. That's how they connected. That's how they found bugs before they released stuff to us, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that experience for them was something that was an integral part of their not only lifestyle but work, right?
Yeah, so they got their finger on the pulse of that game.
R-
They understand
right.
what the community is saying, what they want, and that's why they delivered the multiplayer maps. Like they were realizing like, "Oh, players have wanted this for a long time. Let's deliver it."
So who else are you going to ask about the experience of the game?
Yeah.
Like if it starts with the core, streamers that not streamers, the content creators on YouTube that
Mhm.
talk about Destiny all day, all night, which is the post that you sent me, which is one of the guys that I'll watch when he's talking about Destiny 2 or whatever.
Absolutely.
As the cross, I believe that's how you say the name from as T Cross. Oh, he has it in his bio, right? So correction there from a guy like that who talks about Destiny all the time to the individuals who actually work there, who
Mhm.
knows the game in and out, why wouldn't you listen to them? To me, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So it's a failure of leadership, leadership thinking more about the dollar sign while Bungie's team is thinking more about like how they want to make the best game possible that they know gamers want.
Right. So the other thing that we have to look at as well is so definitely the employees, and then you had the content creators that would go to the summit thing that they were doing, right?
Mhm.
When they realized that there were a lot of things that were not necessarily going well with Destiny, they started doing the summits, and the summits was, hey, these content creators are always playing our game. We know them because we watch them on Twitch, or we know them because we watch them on YouTube. These individuals are going to come in, and then they're going to tell us exactly what we need to focus on, adjust, or pivot, right?
Right.
That's what the summit was about.
Mhm.
Exclusive opportunity to go to the Bungie studios and see what they're doing, what they're working on, signing NDAs if and hopefully that they abide by them, right?
Yeah.
And then you get a particular product that comes out and say, hey, I kind of like what's happening with the game. So I think it's going to be a combination of summit conversations in the near future because they need that, because if you want the pulse of the community so the game can come back to what we loved about Destiny 1. Dude, I remember
Mm.
Destiny 1 was such a pull for my time. It's not the same anymore. Like
Yeah.
if we're honest. It was such a pull for your time. Like you had to get, like certain weapons in the game that were so iconic. And the raids were super iconic. You just had to play the raid in a particular fashion or make sure you had your same team to play the raid. That pull is not there, right?
Yeah.
So they have to go back to that particular formula. So I know we talked about Connie Booth last time, right?
Yeah.
And Connie Booth, whether she was let go or she decided to leave. Then you had the Destiny 2 composer, right? Which has been in that particular world for 25 years.
Yeah,
Now,
Michael Salvatore, yeah. Mhm.
where's he gonna go? Where's he gonna go?
I
Right?
I have no idea, dude, but he's
Right.
he's one of the best. I mean, him and Marty O'Donnell, Marty
The
did
best in
Halo
the
and
game,
then they
man.
worked together on Destiny and created, I mean, some of the greatest music that we hear in gaming, some of the iconic tunes that we hear throughout all these games. I don't know. I don't know what does Destiny even have without that great music? Like that's such a big part of the game. It's a driving force.
It's going to be interesting to see. But if you're in the audience, definitely join
Yeah.
us on stage if you have any comments about what we're talking about with the Destiny stuff. This is a tech and gaming forum. If you have tech and gaming conversations and bits that you want to add to the conversation, feel free. We'll bring you up to have that conversation. But Destiny, as I mentioned earlier, 1,400 hours.
Dude.
Okay. I don't even know what to do with myself now. So now what's interesting now
Mm,
is I definitely want to hear your thoughts on what you sent me. What's interesting now is the is the lull that's happening, right? Because they're getting ready to get rid of Festival of the Lost, which I think ends next week,
right.
to go into like I guess your regularly scheduled program to some degree. And I'm only going back into the Festival of the Lost because I believe there's an iconic assault rifle that I do want, and the perks on there is pretty good. So I need to get that before the event is over. So if I need to grind between tonight and I guess before Tuesday, I need to do that. That's absolutely necessary because of what Asti Cross has recently said about the assault rifle that is in the Festival of Lost right now. So that's some of the thoughts there. But so you want to talk about what you sent me earlier?
Yeah. And I gotta grab that auto rifle before that's over. But yeah, this is something. It's more from Ast Cross and Fran Mirabella the third here is covering this about Bungie's new marathon game, which is something that they're going to work on apparently in tandem with Destiny 2. Because, like they said, Destiny 2 is not ending. They're gonna drop the final shape. They're going to do episodes instead of seasons, and the whole way that they dispense content in the future is supposed to change. But Marathon, what we're reading here from these, sort of, I would take this maybe as rumor, is that the game was originally going to be a battle royale, but then it became an extraction looter shooter. Because of the success of Tarkov, we could look at Tom Clancy's The Division, and it's Dark Zone. We could look at Call of Duty's DMZ mode. I mean, it's everywhere. These type of games are very popular. And Marathon was originally, I would almost say it's similar to Doom in some ways. It's a very first-person shooter, blasting aliens. It's very Halo. This is what Bungie did before Halo. And so this is them coming home and returning to one of their original franchises, and they're kind of trying to figure out like how do we do this? How do we bring this back to a new audience? And I feel a little conflicted about it because it almost feels like extraction shooters are going to show up everywhere, and that it might sort of become a fad. And I don't know how long games like this will last as well. They only last as long as the community supports them, and then so many months or years later, the developer will release a statement and say, "Oh, it was a good run. We're gonna give everyone some free cosmetics, and then we're gonna shut down the servers. Things like that." So, but apparently this was not very well received due to some of the testing that they have done. So, do you have
Yeah,
any
I
thoughts
did
on that?
watch that video. Yeah, I did watch that video by Asta Cross when he posted that in relation to when it was first announced or when it was first shown that it wasn't well received. And my thing is, when we look, let me think about
Mm,
this for a second. When we think about the games that we currently play today, right? It's a combination of formulas that we've seen time and time again, right? Platformers, beat 'em ups, shoot 'em ups, etc., right? Battle Royale, etc. Now you have Fortnite. What did they announced what they're going back to. No, well, I'm just gonna say it this way. They're
they
going
are.
back to basics, right, to some degree, because
Yeah.
that formula worked, right? And if you saw the chart on how it spiked, just because that they were going back to a formula that they work based on what we were talking about before, is that's what you have to do. And so when I think about a lot of games that we play now, we're going to play what we want to play regardless, and companies have to course correct on their side when it comes to whether it's a Tarkov thing or any other type of formula, PvPvE type of thing, right? Or what we're seeing with Call of Duty, have a big sandbox and put all your Call of Duties in it for the next years to come because of the new graphics and new tech that you're using. Now you're just going to have one major hub for all the CODs, coming. You know what I mean? So whatever works,
Mm-hmm.
companies are going to do based on what we want from them, right? Which is
Yeah.
why we're seeing the same games come out, which is why we had an era I would say what, 7, 8 years ago, give or take. I mean, correct me on this. Remasters was a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Every other year, we were getting a remaster of a thing. Then we went from the remaster to the remake, right? And then you played all pretty much all the Resident Evils that are remade in
Yeah,
the last couple of years, right?
I have.
And they look absolutely amazing. So then when that formula started working, because we love rebuying the same games over and over, whatever platform that we're going to play it on, regardless, right? So now they're going to say, okay, since you like this, we're going to remake the Call of Duties that you've loved with a new graphics, a new engine, a major upgrade, and is going to reimagine what you've loved. And by the way, a lot of the maps that you loved in the past, we're just going to put them in as we're progressing. And so that's all we want.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, it's like everybody should understand this by now.
Mhm.
We want the same thing, but just a newer version of it. But we want the same thing, which is why Call of Duty is going to do well. Which is why, what was the game that recently put out the numbers? Alan Wake did well, right?
Mhm.
Spider-Man did well,
Mhm.
and the next Spider-Man is going to do well too
Oh
if it's the
yeah.
same formula, right? And that's
Absolutely.
and I think that's where we are. So I think that, at the end of the day, when it comes to the Destiny stuff and the Bungie stuff,
Mhm.
as I was sharing earlier, it is very sad, heading into, for some, holiday season where you're looking for work. That is a sad, that is a frustrating thing, right? And as we were talking about earlier, seeing posts and people are saying, prayers and thoughts and stuff like that, there's a lot of individuals who are connected to the families that actually work at the company. And we may not necessarily be connected to every single family that has worked there, but we're connected to the game, right? And because we connected to the game, we're connected to what they developed hours during, pandemic, during whatever era, hours of
Mhm.
what we've played is what they've, put together. And I just like it's incredible. Every time I go into the game, it feels brand new, right? And I think that that's why we're connected to it. So now even with this particular situation with Bungie, right? One of the things, and I wanted to tie this in, that we're not talking about
Mm.
is 100 Thieves. Why aren't we talking about what's happening with 100 Thieves? So I'm going to fill you in right now. 100 Thieves is laying off 20% of its staff as it focuses on core of esports and apparel, right? How come we're not talking about that? Not saying one is better or than the other. That's not what I'm saying.
Mhm.
But I don't hear anybody talking about the 100 Thieves thing, right? And again, it goes back to what we were saying before. Everybody is going back to a core experience that they originally offered, that is allowing them to scale the way they're supposed to. Once you start veering off of that, right? We see whatever, happens for these companies, and they're all going back to, that same thing. So 20% of its staff as it focuses on core of esport and apparel. And there's an article about that. Where's this article? This article was on The Verge, right? And that was
Mhm.
posted on November 2nd. I didn't hear anything about that.
No, I didn't either.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now, is it because that 100 Thieves is a somewhat of a brand personal type of team esports thing versus, Bungie being, Destiny, and then Destiny 2, and then, Marathon for a lot of individuals, and their pedigree for all the games that they've done in the past, right? Is it because of that? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. But I find it very interesting what's getting amplified by way of coverage versus what isn't getting coverage, even though they're posted around the same week and
Mm.
maybe around the same time. I don't have the answer. I'm just putting it out there. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, it's the Bungie thing's a little easier to sensationalize and buzz about and get positive and negative takes on it, and spin it in whatever way suits your fancy, and do the thoughts and prayers for the devs. And the 100 Thieves thing just kind of feels like a byline to some people, and it shouldn't be that way, because we've seen some of the greatest games drop this year. This has been the busiest year since 2007 in gaming. in terms of releases and Game of the Year type titles that are dropping. And we're also seeing record number of layoffs this year.
Mm, mm. Yeah, that's definitely an interesting, situation. And to me, I did post about it, and some people, yeah, yeah, the
Well, you
internet
got
makes me
roasted?
laugh.
Is that what happened?
I think
Did
I
you
got
get
roasted a little
ratioed? Is
bit.
that.
I got roasted a little
No,
bit because they were saying you forgot to add the part that this was brought to you by a Bungie, like, super fan or whatever they said. But my thing is, it's
that's
like
crazy.
I just want to be honest about what I was feeling at the time, and I guess I'm not supposed to do that. I guess you can't put your feelings out on the internet because you just might get roasted. But I think it was great though. I
Yeah.
think it was great. I really appreciated the roast, but my thing is, it is what it is. This is an experience that we've enjoyed throughout the years, and one of the things that I continue to enjoy when it comes to building, YouTube is TubeBuddy, man. So TubeBuddy, definitely check it out if you haven't checked out TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy offers video SEO, tags, suggestions, and more. Get started for free. TubeBuddy.com/Uriah. Uriah spelled URIYYA. And there you go. Anything else on this, bro?
Dude, it's a shame that we don't see these devs getting to celebrate and join in the success of launching these new games and being a part of these experiences and stuff. They just immediately look at the bottom line and they're like, all right, well, sales didn't go where we wanted them to, or maybe they did. And they were just like, well, we need to cut these people out so that, we can make sure the stockholders and the CEOs and the people at the top of the food chain, get their checks and their bonuses and all that stuff. And they don't really worry about how the experience will manage long term, because this is not good for Bungie's future. It's not good for
Mm,
all these studios that we're seeing cuts from. It's going to make it a lot harder for them to continue the maintenance on games that are already out. And if they're working on new games, that's going to be very difficult. They're going to have to hire new talent. They're going to have to train them, and
mm.
get them caught up to where they are in the development process and go from there. It's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to play
Oh,
the
I'm
game.
I'm
It
on,
doesn't
man.
matter.
The final shape is, I'll wait as long as it takes. It's got to be a dope experience, and I know they'll somehow pull through. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they will.
Yeah. So Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 single player campaign. There are reviews floating around. I'm not looking at the reviews. I know you were able to stream it today, I believe, and play it as well. So what did you see and what did you like about what you checked out?
Yeah, I've got about 7 hours in, and I'm not gonna drop any spoilers here. But I'm really enjoying it. The new thing is that they've added these weapons-free missions where they allow you to free roam the environment. You can choose your weapons. There's even a loadout box that spawns on every map, and if you find it, you can customize your loadout from guns that you've unlocked throughout the campaign. You'll find guns in the environment, and of course, when you dispatch enemies, you'll find kill streaks and other stuff that you're familiar with. And you just play however you want. If you got silence guns and you want to do takedowns and be sneaky, you can do that. If you want to be a sniper, you could do that. If you want to go in guns blazing, they have options for that as well. And the maps are really well designed, and the way that they are, instead of telling the story exactly the same way as they did in the early 2000s, it's sort of a reimagining of what you may be familiar with if you did play the original Modern Warfare trilogy back in the day. I think the big thing a lot of people were coming in and saying was like, "Oh my god, I can't wait till this happens. Oh my god, wait, what? How are they gonna interpret this?" And I'm just like, chill. Like, they're doing it all
Hmm.
different. It's gonna happen in a different way at different times. The famous airport massacre thing that happened in the previous games, they handled it differently with a modern touch, and it was still a shocking and mind-bending and horrifying experience for the player. Like, it was so gut-wrenching, but I wasn't obsessing over it and saying, "Oh, well, they didn't do it exactly this way. They didn't do it the way that we said that we thought they would do it, and it doesn't match my checklist 100%." So it was just incredible. And as you're talking about sort of these cutscenes put together into movies, I think Call of Duty, especially with this latest one, but I think the trilogy overall, those cutscenes, that's a movie. Like, I
Yeah.
would watch a Call of Duty movie, whether it's animated, live action, whatever it is. Like, the storytelling that they have put into this trilogy, and especially with this latest game, the dialogue, everything is so meaningful. It's not just mission briefing. All right, we're going to go here. We're going to drop you off. You're going to kill this guy and grab the data and get out of here. Like, everything has a lot of meaning to it. And we don't usually get that from first person shooters. It's usually very, mindless, have a good time, jump in, win the war, get out.
I have a
So
question.
it
I have a question for
reinvents
you.
the formula a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and the formula, I think it's still um, very, very, because I remember when I first started hearing about Call of Duty Modern Warfare,
Mm-hmm.
Call of Duty 4, right? I played Call of Duty 3 and then started playing Call of Duty 4, got hooked, and I've been playing Call of Duty ever since, right? And I think that the formula, even back then, they were saying that they were inspired by 007, which is very interesting. They were inspired by
Mm.
GoldenEye. And I was like, wow, okay, so even now, the formula is still the same. I still get, my heart rate pumped, right? In those 1v1 situations of Call of Duty, and I think they've done a fantastic job. So, one of the things that I saw earlier, I definitely want to bring, I did post it in the Nest. They were talking about the community feedback that they got based on the weapon tuning, right? The weapon tuning feature has been removed, and they made further improvements to make the gunsmith easier to use. So, my thing is, when it comes to Call of Duty, right?
Yeah.
For me personally, I love all the things that you could do with the weapons that you get in Call of Duty, but as long as I could have a low recoil weapon,
Mm-hmm.
right? It doesn't matter who's on the other side. At some point, you're gonna be no, seriously,
Yeah.
seriously. It's
No,
at
I
some
know where you're
point,
going. I
no,
love
you know what
this.
I'm saying?
Do it. No, do it.
At some point, I'm gonna be down. Okay, respawn at some point. You're gonna be down and
Mm-hmm.
respawn, right? So I think that low recoil, a nice sight, on it that I could see everything pretty clearly. Not running all over the map because that say, hey, it's me. That is like an
Yeah.
easy target for you. So I think that even them taking out the weapon tuning situation, a lot of individuals are going to complain about that. But my thing is, the core of Call of Duty is you and knowing exactly what the weapon is without all the fluff, right? And if you could dominate with that, with an iron sight, or maybe you want a red dot or whatever, but if you can dominate with an iron sight and a low recoil or whatever you need to do, a light mag or whatever, with your M4, whatever it is, right? And if you could dominate with that, before you start putting all the other stuff, you are the one that everybody should be afraid of on the battlefield.
Yeah.
You are the one, right? And I know you've seen that with some of the things that we've experienced in the DMZ, for Call of Duty, when we've checked out that particular mode. So for me, this news, I put it in the Nest. This news for weapon tuning isn't for me.
Mm.
It's not for me. It's for the individuals that need all that stuff to be somewhat um, a challenge on the battlefield. But for individuals who've been playing Call of Duty ever since, like the World War ones, World War games, meaning going back to like Call of Duty 3 and all the other Call of Duties that were very, very focused on, hey, it's you, this weapon, and what you're able to do with it. That's it. That's the beauty. Yes, I understand it is still the same thing when you add the different layers for the modifications and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
the core of what we love about Call of Duty when we see the clips is not the modifications. That's not why we're there. We watch the clip and we give these people all the impressions that we give them because they're able to do something very, very impressive in the clip based on what they were using, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that weapon was, right? And I think that going back to that makes it, even more of the experience that we remember back in the day when we were playing Call of Duty 1, 2, 3 before it became, Modern Warfare and then the 2 and then the 3 and then before we saw Black Ops 1 and 2 and before we started seeing all those things. And I think that going back to that thing is necessary. Again, I guess maybe
Hmm.
this is the theme of this conversation today. Every company is going back to the roots, of what made them super great. Like, I mean, dude,
It's so
name a
accurate,
company right
dude.
now.
I'm so mad. It's so
Name a
accurate, dude.
company that's not doing it right now.
Uh,
Everybody's doing it.
no, Konami's doing it.
Everybody's
You want
doing
to
it
name
right now.
Halo's doing it? Halo's doing it right now with
Season
Infinite.
5 of Halo,
That's
right, is doing
crazy.
it right now. Every company is doing it. It's almost like they all had a conversation and
Yeah.
say, guys, according to every report that we looked at over the last, fiscal year, it seems like all the players that we have, the entire player base, they just want us to go back to what they loved back in the day. Why don't we just give them that with new graphics and, somewhat of a new experience? Oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Everybody's doing it across the board right now.
Absolutely. It's the best way to sort of wrap this whole thing in a nice bow. But I want to talk a little bit more about the tuning cuz I think this is a great move. Um Tuning started to become like a real difficult thing. Like in order to access the tuning feature, you had to max out the gun. So that means you had to use that gun a lot and level it up. And then when it was max level, you could do some fine tuning. You'd go into your attachments and you click tune. And then it would pull up like that, that confusing looking pentagon chart where you pull things in different directions. If you make changes to the damage output, then that affects, maybe your range or your handling or something. And then all of a sudden the gun starts to become one sided. It's like, oh, it's really good at damage dealing, but now it's not, now it's shaking everywhere and you can't land shots. So the tuning became just this sort of you were adjusting things by the millimeter to get some sort of benefit on the back end. Like it was kind of crazy. Like I know we used it, and I followed tweaks on that, and like I would see people posting videos on TikTok and everywhere, and they'd be like, "Yeah, this is the ultimate sniper build," and it's like you got to set your tuning on the site to 0.5, and then you got to go over here and set your magazine to 2.6, and it was just so overcomplicated, and it's like it really doesn't need to be that difficult. Like just give us the attachments, tell us what they do, and let us equip what we want or what we don't want. There's a lot of people that just rock the iron sights and maybe they make some other changes and they just call it a day.
I'm gonna play the other side real quick because I think it's important.
Sure.
Um, because I know that some individuals loved it, right? I know they loved it. It's
I
almost like
didn't
you're
hate
tuning
it,
a
but I
car.
also didn't love it. I was in the middle.
Right, right. It's almost like, you think about Forza Motorsport or any,
Mm-hmm.
Gran Turismo 7 or whatever, you're tuning like the, fractions of seconds or, like what did it call the thing? Um, kill time, the TCK, right?
Yeah.
You're adjusting for all those things. And I know that some people loved it, so I'm gonna be on their team for a second and say,
Do
okay,
it.
I get it. You loved it because it allows you to modify it in such a way that most individuals would not necessarily do. But you benefited from it for whatever that fraction of a second was. But whether it was a fraction of a second, if you miss that, aiming down sight, then you died just like everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, yes, you can make the adjustment. Yes, you could do that, but you can prepare so much. If your team is not doing call outs, when they're supposed to, if you run out thinking it's safe and you have all those things, with all the modifications you've done to your weapon, I mean, what does it mean if, you get sniped because
You
you
still
decide to run
lose.
down the street? Right, right, right. So I think like when all those things, when it's all said and done, I think all those things are great. But for overall experience that's going to be competitive, that's going to keep people coming back, that's going to keep the user base high for Call of Duty, they thought it was a great thing to remove it altogether. And I'm not necessarily against that because you have to look at it as a business. What
Mm-hmm.
what is it going to be, for us long term to have this situation that might be a pain point. So let's let them all complain about it now and it's out, then bringing it trying to take it out mid-season.
No, that'd be a
once the game comes out.
disaster. Yeah.
Can you imagine they try to take it out like, December?
No, everybody would cry. There'd be a massive outcry no matter what you do. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Right. So I'm not necessarily, against, decisions like that, or, holding a game um out. Let's say it was going to be released spring, you decide to push it out summer. Where when we talked about the Destiny thing, we didn't necessarily talk about, games being pushed out, games being delayed, or expansions being delayed. But
Hmm.
even that, it's like, okay, we understand what the situation is. If it's going to be a better experience, June 2024, or moving another game out to next year, then it is what it is, right? It is what it is. So I'm not necessarily against, things like that. Now, I would be against if they say Spider-Man 2 is not coming to PC. That's going
That's
to be an issue
crazy.
for me.
No, you can't do that.
It's going to be an issue for me,
Yeah.
right? Because my thing is just like, I have a system that can, I believe, can handle it, right? The
Oh yeah.
3060 should be able to handle it, right?
Yeah.
So not seeing the game come on PC, I think that would be like, you'd lose a lot of money because people are waiting to buy the game, literally.
That's
And
very
it just
true.
came out for PlayStation 5, right? So yeah, any other thoughts on Call of Duty stuff?
Man, I'm just excited. I'm glad that they did kind of the early access. If you've pre-ordered the game, you can get the campaign and get that and play it, and you're not being rushed because it's like 10-day early access. So I mean that's giving you a lot of time to really enjoy the campaign, and you unlock a lot of stuff for playing the campaign characters, and weapons and things like that. And then the multiplayer and the zombies will hit, and we'll hit the ground running, and I won't be trying to rush the campaign so I can catch up with you guys in multiplayer. Everyone will be at the same starting line, and I think that's cool. I like that.
No, I definitely appreciate that. So for those who'll be listening to the replay later, definitely join us. You can follow me, Uriah, Uriya. The show radio is the other account, is the account where we do the podcast for the show radio. That is the account. And Aaron Shack TV is definitely adding a lot of insights. He streams on a regular basis on YouTube, so definitely check him out. And the conversation is an open forum. Whenever we have these conversations, feel free, if you're here with us next time, to raise your hand, and we focus on a gaming news conversation, tech conversation. That's all. We will police the stage because that's what we want to talk about here. Anything outside of that is out of our sphere. Okay, this is not a mental health, conversation room. This is not international relations or foreign relations or anything like that. So we focus on tech and gaming here. So definitely feel free to join us whenever you stop by or listen to any conversation that we have in the future. Any loose ends to tie up before we get out of here? I saw a couple of things. I don't know if they're like, quick hits or anything like that, but what do you have? And we can begin wrapping up.
Yeah, if you got some quick hits, let's go through those.
Yeah, so I saw Sega exec wants Sonic to surpass Mario. I think that's a big undertaking.
Oh, that's
Okay.
crazy. That's crazy, man.
Okay.
What does
Okay.
that
Did you
mean?
see,
Like,
did you see
that's
that?
wild, dude. I did not see that. That missed my radar.
I
That's
was like,
crazy.
what? When asked how he plans for Sonic to grow in future, Ohasi replied, simply put, I want to surpass Mario. I mean, dude, Mario is huge. Okay. What was it? What, we're going back, what, 85?
Yeah, 85, dude.
85,
That's a
man.
lot of catching up to do.
So 2 years later, I got my first console, which was the NES in 87.
Mm,
And then we just, ever since then, somehow I got like a Sega Master System. I don't even know like how I got my hands on that.
mm,
Um, Maybe it was through like one of those retro type stores or whatever.
mm.
And then from there we did Sega Saturn, Sega Genesis, of course. I never had the Super Nintendo growing up.
Ooh,
Never had the Super Nintendo
okay.
growing up. But Sega Saturn, of course, during the whole Fatal Fury, King of Fighters 98, Street Fighter, what was that? Street Fighter was 92,
Mm-hmm.
technically for the main one, and then the beat 'em up side scrolling was probably a year or two prior to that. So, but throughout that whole time, Super Mario World, especially when the whole thing was, Genesis does, you can't do this on Nintendo Genesis, that whole
Yeah,
commercial,
yeah.
right? That whole time. So I don't know, man. I mean, that's a big undertaking if you try to take out, the plumber.
Well, think
Like,
about it. They dropped Sonic Superstars around the same time as Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
yeah,
So,
but Wonder crushed it though.
yeah, I mean, Wonder is just, I mean, there's a reason why I say it's like a game of the year type title. I mean, it's just,
Yeah,
it's a masterpiece in every way. And I haven't had the chance to play Superstars, but like, I'm excited. I think it's cool that you can play as, the whole Sonic family and you can do some co op. And I kind of wonder how all that works because Sonic is about going fast. And some of the
right.
other characters are not about going fast. Tails can fly. Knuckles glides. Amy does things as well.
Right. For sure, for sure. Yeah, so I did see that. The next thing I saw was Radiant Silvergun, which
Mm.
is a bullet hell type of game. For the first time was released on Steam. So if that's your thing, definitely check that out. Radiant Silvergun. It is a definitely a dope title. Yeah, man. And based on some of the things that we've seen in this week, Destiny 2 is of course on the radar, Call of Duty's on the radar. Miles Morales has been my thing lately, playing through that again on PC and loving it. I'm glad I picked up Spider-Man and Miles on PC for Steam. I do not regret that, and I look forward to, getting a lot of these titles on PC, man. Any final thoughts, and we can wrap?
Absolutely, man. It's a great time for gaming, and I've kind of settled in on what I purchased for the year, and now it's time to crack in and just start playing those games and enjoying all these experiences and sharing our thoughts. So once again, I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, for sure, man. Where can I find you, man?
And you can find me right here on Twitter, AaronShack64TV, or at my site, aaronshack.com. You can also find me on YouTube, Aaron Shack, on there as well, where I do live streams, podcast episodes, reviews, tech unboxings, all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. So shout outs to Nanoleaf. They sent me the Nanoleaf shapes.
Ooh.
Ultra black hexagons. These are 9 light panels. I'm gonna look like a streamer now.
Oh my God, you're coming back, dude. You're gonna have like a studio with like four different camera angles and like lighting provided by something, it's gonna be
Dude,
wild when you're back on the scene with your little
dude, these
hexagons in
are
the background. That's
I'm
crazy.
gonna have I'm gonna have my little hexagons in the back, and I'm going to be proud. These are the limited edition. These are the black ones, man. So I'm excited about
Mm.
that. Yeah, bro. Actually, you know what? Before we get out of here, I definitely want.
Yeah.
I'm learning how to use this thing, but let's go to. I'm gonna go to my profile real quick, and then I'm going to go to that post, and I want to see if I could add it here in
Yeah.
the thing for individuals to check that out. These panels look amazing. And I took a picture with the Pixel. Did you get your phone yet?
Not yet, man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're holding out on me, dude. So November 9th or 10th is the Google Pixel Pro 8. I'm very excited. Oh, look at those panels, dude. Look at that.
Dude,
Look at those
I can't
hexagons.
wait. I can't wait for you to get
I'm so
your
excited, dude.
dude, I cannot wait.
You know what else is happening, man? I'm being like targeted with ads. Like I'm seeing them
What do you mean?
Google Pixel Pro ads on TV, and they're like telling me all about the phone. Like I feel like the ad campaign has been, ramped up in my area just to sort of torture me a little bit and tell me all the cool features that await me as I'm about to pick up that phone. You're gonna be doing some DIY work in your stream room, putting up these little
Dude,
hexagons.
I'm so excited for these hexagons. I don't know why, because it's like I've always wanted, the light
Mm.
system,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to have it in such a way where it's a natural flow to like how I create, content on stream and stuff like that. So seeing that, oh man, dude, I'm so excited, bro. I'm so
That's so
excited, dude.
cool.
Like I looked at the instructions, I was like, I don't even know what it says right now, but we're gonna figure it out. We're
No, I'm
gonna figure it
excited
out.
for you.
We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna put it together. But yeah, so this has been our Twitter X Spaces edition of the show radio. So definitely thank you for tuning in. Share it with your friends. We have conversations about tech and gaming here. I don't foresee me doing any other type of spaces right now. But in terms, well, with the exception of the thing that I talked to you about with how to get 5 million impressions on this platform,
Mm,
which is still a work in progress, right? And I think that we're a little bit we're over the halfway period. I'll say that right
that's
now.
crazy.
And we did it in less than what, a month,
That's
for a
insane.
small account. I
Yeah,
think it sounds insane for a small account. For a big account, that they
sure.
probably could do it in like 2 weeks or whatever. But I think that I do want to share what that journey has been, and what the mindset was to get to a place to start crossing 1 million, then 2 million, and then I think right now we're at 2.8, and
Wow.
it'll probably be 3 by next week, right? Which will leave we're over that halfway period. So I definitely want to have that conversation, but I want to speak, about it with a level of authority once it's completed with the screenshots. I've been posting the screenshots on Discord. So yeah, that's another conversation I think we're gonna have. I think that's still tech related, a little bit on the social media side, but I'm looking forward to having that conversation with you. I know you've had
Mm,
success as well,
yeah,
right?
it's
You went
going.
from 40K to, what'd you say, 254,000 impressions,
In just
um,
days, man.
and just
It's a
days,
game
and just days,
changer.
right? And it sounds like, we're lying to y'all,
Yeah,
right?
no, it sounds like the
But
whole tech guru, like, hey, how to get
right,
a thousand subscribers in 10 minutes, Like,
right.
use my
But
foolproof method.
But you'll see. You'll see. I think
No, it's
once we
crazy.
show the screenshots, then you're gonna say it's Photoshop. But it
Yeah,
is it is what it is.
we
You
can't
can't
win.
win. You
No.
can't win on platforms like this. But we do have screenshots and we are documenting. But you can find me at Uriah, Uriya. You can find the show radio at the show radio. We'll be hanging out in these rooms to talk about tech and gaming conversations. And guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. If you hung out and you just listened, thank you for hanging out. We appreciate you. We hope to see you next time. And hopefully you can join us in a conversation next time. But thanks for being here. And until next time, take care, guys.
Bye. Remember that the best way to support the channel is to sign up for a membership on the YouTube channel. Members get exclusive channel badges to highlight their continued support over the months and years. As a member, you get access to special emojis expressing a variety of emotions and support for the channel. Members will also receive photo and status updates, early access to select videos, and at higher tiers, access to a members-only Discord channel. Your support is what keeps the Shackcast photography blog and the YouTube channel going. Please like and share the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on a video or a Shackcast episode. Thank you for tuning in.